Do, 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 do. Hello, everybody. And welcome to a very rainy New York City. Get started here in a moment. I see Michael Anderson. What's up, Michael? Paulie, thanks for joining us. I see my good friend TD. How are you, Teresa? Good to see you as always. My friend Paul K. Paul, thank you for joining. Ben York is here. Joe Ratz. Ibrahim Azam, welcome. Hey, Troy Admin. Good to see you, Troy. Trust you're doing well. Shane71, Kimberly. Now, here's the bad news. You want to hear the bad news first? Here's the bad news. I left the umbrella in the office. Because I was looking at the weather forecast and the radar shows all of the clouds moving away from New York City right now. But there appears to be like this one little rain cloud that's sitting right over us. So hopefully we don't get too wet tonight. Anyway, good to see you, Professor Dario. Welcome. I should be back in Little Buenos Aires, Miami on Monday. Florida boy in Atlanta. Cara Roth from I was about to say California. Canada, what's going on? Now the building we're looking at right now, this is the Crown Building, which is also the Amman, New York. This is one of the most luxurious hotels in the world. The Amman branded hotels. Sunshine Vibes, Alan, what's up? Peter, Crypto Meme. Kathleen says, hope the rain holds. Yeah, so do I. Now, it's strange because, I don't know, the weather's, I think, is going to be a little wonky. Hold on one second. It's like supposed to rain. It's supposed to be sunny. If you look on like the hourly forecast on the weather app, it's like very bipolar. But anyway, we'll see. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. In any event, let's just go ahead and just do the quick audio and visual check here in the chat. Now we do have the microphone. I did find the mic, but I did not find the wind guard. So hopefully it's not too windy. But if you guys can hear us, and if we are streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and leave a thumbs up in the chat. And we'll kick this off and we'll get started as we make our way down to 34th Street, Herald Square. Padilla, what's up? Jasmine, DC322, Lena Sandoval. Yeah, DC322, you're right. The Knicks won last night. And 34th Street, Madison Square Garden was crazy. So hopefully whenever the Knicks are back in New York, I'm not too sure when that is. Maybe we'll have to time the stream perfectly that we're ending the stream right as the Knicks game is getting out. We're right across the street from Trump Tower now. The Trump administration had a pretty busy day today. I'm not too sure if anybody had the chance, or maybe you were too busy or whatnot, but you had the U.S. Saudi Arabia Investing Conference in Saudi Arabia, and that is pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight. I think there was significant takeaways from that. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like the audio and the visual is good. So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. We are currently on the corner of 5th Avenue and 56th Street, and we are headed southbound. Today is Tuesday, May 13th, I believe, 2025. And it was another very, very strong day in the markets. You had the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average rallying. But we also had significant participation from semiconductor stocks, which is really, really great. If you remember, I think this was Saturday, because we didn't do a live stream Sunday night. One of the main things I was looking for last week, kind of looking forward to this week, is a little bit of rotation out of the main leaders, right? The leaders that are already up and out, and a rotation into the key sectors that are going to confirm the bull cycle. And for me, that's really the semiconductor sector, or the SOX, SOXX. Now, over the years, I've kind of made a little bit of a revision to Dow theory, and I've substituted in the semiconductor index, or the SOX, and I've kind of taken out the Dow transports. So as a quick review, usually market strategists look for a confirmation in the Dow transports. The theory is, if the transportation index is making a new high, that's broadening out the market and confirming a new uptrend. But as the US economy has really shifted towards services, and we are in the age of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and the like, that's really been the main driver of markets. If semiconductor stocks are not participating, it's very, very difficult to confirm a narrative in the market from bear to bull or bull to bear. And it seems like we're really getting that piece this week and in a major way. So for the first time for the semiconductor index, the SOX, we've closed back above the 200-day moving average, which is great. And we also had a lot of follow through on the individual names. Now, obviously, if you break down the sector, Avago, AVGO, or Broadcom, that's your leader in the sector, okay? You're about, 3 points off of a new record high for Broadcom, and NVIDIA is finally starting to kick into gear. Major catalyst today at the U.S. Saudi Investment Summit, where one of the major, I would say, participants or guests, kind of whatever you want to call it, was the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen. NVIDIA, I believe, was up, about 5% today alone, and it's back above the 200-day moving average. So we're just getting what we want, right? We're getting that participation from the semis, and this market is really, really, really starting to broaden out here, which is great, which is very, very good. Another thing that we've been discussing, right, kind of as we're looking for confirmation, right, we got 2 follow-through days mid-April, right, that we were adding exposure to, and this market has really followed through. So we got the semiconductors that are now participating. But another key sector that has participated much sooner than semiconductors, which is very positive, is financials, or the XLF. And I believe as of closing today, we are only 2 points off of a new all-time record high for the XLF, for the financial sector. And that is very, very telling in terms of a confirmation for the durability of a new bull trend, right? Because if you do not have health in the financial sector, if all of the major investment banks, right, are truncating, and what I mean by truncating is going down and rolling over as the market is going up, that is a divergence and that is a very negative sign. But we've seen quite the opposite. We've been seeing great action across the board from all of the major investment banks, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citi, really starting to follow through here. I would like to see over the coming weeks more broader participation from a lot of the boutique banks, Jefferies, Evercore, Houlihan Lokey, and the like. But that is very, very positive. Okay, it is very difficult to believe that this market's going to make a new low now that we have the financials and the semiconductors leading. That being said, okay, and we're going to do a deep dive into this tonight, it is important to pay attention to the bond market here because we have a few, I wouldn't say, I'm very hesitant to say causes for concern just yet, but maybe flashes of yellow lights, okay? So if you go to cnbc.com/bonds, once again, cnbc.com/bonds, and you kind of take a look at the yield curve as a whole, you'll see the 10-year right now we have at 4.473%. The 30-year Treasury is at 4.96%, probably going to break 5% this week, and the 2-year is over 4%, or I think directly at 4% now. So we're not really seeing the yield on the 10-year come down, and that's really what this administration wants, right? They want to see the yield on that 10-year come down, mainly because a lot of debt instruments in the market are priced off of the 10-year, right? That's kind of how the bond market works. Debt instruments and products are priced via a spread, right? It'll be a spread over the 10-year. The most, I would say, common instrument that everybody is probably familiar with here is probably a mortgage, right? 15-year, 30-year fixed rate mortgage is priced off of the 10-year. And we'll go into talking about the CPI report and kind of how that is relevant. But we got to kind of keep an eye on that because usually you start to see a little bit of volatility as bonds continue to sell off here and yields go up. But all in all, I would say this market has been, the strongest, this has really been the strongest V-bottom recovery I almost want to say it's been stronger than the COVID bottom. It really has. Now that being said, a lot of the leaders now are extended. So chances are, if you've been watching the live stream, if you've been watching the broadcast, all of those leaders we've been talking about, you probably have positions in, you probably own them, and they're really up and out. And a lot of them are extended 10 to 15% above the 50-day now. We had a slew of new record highs yet again today. Another stock that we've been talking about post earnings is Uber, ticker symbol UBER, broke out to new all-time record highs out of a stage 1 IPO base yesterday, and we had textbook perfect follow-through today. Uber was up, I believe, 4% on the day, closing at 91.72. Your first target on Uber is that big round Jesse Livermore number, which would be 100. This is probably a perfect time to go back and read and reread Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. So Again, Uber new highs today, new 52-week highs today. You had a really strong day for Robinhood, ticker symbol HOOD, up 9% on the day and 4 points away from a new all-time record high. And then you had Palantir up 8% today, hitting a new all-time record high. So those names now are extended. So I would say any new buys here are not warranted because you probably already have, earth shaker positions in pretty much all of them that we listed. And yeah, we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive and talk about it. Obviously, we're going to review the Saudi U.S. investment conference today. And before I say hello to everybody in the chat, I was taking some notes and just kind of being observant. And I want to read you a little bit of a list of the attendees that President Trump decided to take to Saudi Arabia. And I'll let you draw your own conclusions. I guess it'll kind of be like a rhetorical question, perhaps, as we're looking at the beauty of St. Patrick's Cathedral. So here's a small list of the attendees from the U.S. side, okay? Larry Fink, Andy Jassy, Sam Altman, Jensen, Alex Karp, and I'll stop there. The list goes on, but I wanted to hammer down on those individuals, right? There's a reason why those key players were there. And what I'm getting at is it reassures this secular bull market, not only in the price of the stock of those companies that are related to those names, but in the overall trend. Right, the build out of artificial intelligence, semiconductors, cloud computing. So if you're looking for a thematic investment, if you're looking for, spots to be in, so to speak, I mean, say no more. Oh, and Elon Musk. How could I forget Elon Musk? Anyway, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody in the chat. And we'll kick this stream off right here outside Rockefeller Center. I see Carl Roth is in the house, Florida boy in Atlanta. Brian M. Hubert, what's going on? Connie Ruiz is here. I see Sally. Carl Roth, TD, Professor Dario, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Tony. Since I'm very worried about the bond market. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the bond market. Variety 1985. Amari, what's going on? Alan, hopefully you're well. Hopefully you're doing well. Rockefeller Center is looking awesome, isn't it? It says spring is blooming at Rockefeller Center. Really stunning stuff. Deja Vu is here and Jeff in Southern Tier, New York. What's going on? But yeah, just an overall, I feel like the energy, and again, I don't know if you guys watched the investment conference today with President Trump and in Saudi Arabia, but I would take like the 45 minutes out of your day or your night tonight to watch President Trump's, I guess you could call it keynote speech or just speech, as he was talking, and I get it. A lot of you don't like Trump. I get it. That's not the point. Still watch it. Try to be apolitical about it because all of the opportunities are essentially telegraphed within that event today. And if you could watch that entire conference, right, if you listen to Elon Musk, if you listen to Jensen on that stage, and your main takeaway was that you're very pessimistic and negative on the outlook, not only of the economy, just humanity and just the amazing things that are set to come down the pike. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, I mean, that was my takeaway. Tesla was up massively on a lot of the robo-taxi news and things like that, so it is, hold on, let me wipe the camera lens. it is extremely encouraging, the technology that's coming down the pike. Gene S., good to see you. Welcome. Stephanie says, is it true that he's accepting a $40 million jet from the Saudis? I don't know. There was some news about, and I try to totally block all of that stuff out. And I'm probably going to get flamed for this, and there's probably going to be a lot of people who, don't like what I have to say by this. But I have just really just muted all that nonsense. And this is from an investment standpoint, right? Because I can't stress this enough. And if you've been following us on X, at Walks Wall Street, just kind of following our play-by-play since the low of this market, which is, it's very unusual, but we've been in all the right spots. And if you're in this business of managing money, your job is to work your P&L, right? Okay? And there's so much distraction, there's so much nonsense, especially in and around the tariffs, that is just total white noise, and it kept a lot of people, and a lot of people on Wall Street too, out of this rally. We have record low exposure to equities right now for big institutions, right? A lot of people have just been really scared out of this rally, and those are the quintessential lockout rallies, right? We did a review on the NASDAQ 100 as it was emerging from the pandemic lows. It rode the 21-day moving average all the way up to new all-time record highs, right? So the news is never gonna improve. The news will never, ever improve at the bottom. If anything, there's a lag, and the news gets worse as stocks start to rebound. And I think things are a little bit exacerbated now that we have President Trump. So if you turn on CNN, if you turn on Fox News, you're gonna hear, the sky is falling. Look at all the corruption, $1 billion bribe, this jet, that jet. And it's like they're just gonna hammer on you. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't care about the jet. I don't care about the jet, okay? All of that news flow, and there's gonna be a lot more crazy news flow coming down the pike, believe me, all right? In the context of the opportunity we have here, which is really, it's so rare, the opportunity we have here to compound out our accounts. There's gonna be a lot of people here that are gonna have 200, 300% years this year, okay? So don't, and again, if you're more of a political person, you don't care about the markets, then great. Go ahead, watch CNN, watch Fox News, and, eviscerate each other about the jet, right? You could argue about the jet, argue about the corruption, argue about the tariffs. Was it a good idea, bad idea? And you could spend all day, soaking in your sorrows about, the administration and this and that. But there's always going to be a new rage bait narrative to be outraged by. The point I'm trying to make is that this is not the time to even allocate any mental capital to that, right? On this show, we talk about, allocating capital to businesses, to stocks, but your mental capital allocation is arguably more important. So this is really the time to lock in and tune out the news if you're really working your P&L here, because that stuff, right? All of the fake headlines about the tariffs, all the fake headlines about is the trade deal's going to go on? Is it off? Is it on? Is it off? Is Trump caving? Did Trump, capitulate? Blah blah blah. It's all bullshit. In the context of the market. So I think the jet, maybe it is a bad idea. I don't care. I'm not a part of that conversation. I don't give a shit about it. I saw it, and maybe that makes me a bad guy, that I don't care about it. And maybe you're right. But I'm telling you, and the reason why I really hammer blast on this is because this is such a perfect pitch opportunity that we're going through right now. You just don't have these V-bottom recoveries with, perfect, cup with handle bases with these companies that are coming off 6 to 8 beat and raise quarters. They're crushing earnings in this negative environment, breaking out on massive volume. Don't worry about the jet, okay? Trump, and the Republicans and the Democrats, they're going to be here 20, 40 years from now, right? These opportunities may not be here 20, 40 years from now. So the time is now to be selfish for compounding out your portfolio and just turn off CNN, okay? Give Rachel Maddow a rest. Let her pull her hair out and scream about the jet. Let Fox News jump up and down and pull their hair out about, whatever they complain about every night. But you focus on this. Really, really focus on this now. Oh, I think it's gonna really start to downpour here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm feeling a little bit of raindrops, and I think the sky's just gonna blow wide open. So I'm gonna try to do the walk tonight where I kind of hang out around here so I can maybe duck into the hotel if it starts to pour rain. Anyway, Bob says agree. Now, how much coverage do you think that, the bribe jet is gonna get in comparison to and fully autonomous driving, right? Like, there is so much innovation, US innovation, homegrown US innovation coming down the pike that is going to skyrocket corporate earnings growth across the S&P, and you don't want to miss that, okay? So sorry to really hammer on that too much, but you do not want to miss out on that. So I'll say it again, go back and try to watch the entire talk with Jensen today from NVIDIA, their investments about what they're doing. Really, really watch Elon Musk and even just go review Tesla's X handle today. Essentially, they were saying with the new robotaxi that's coming out, in the near future, you're going to have an opportunity to buy a Tesla, drive your Tesla to work. Your Tesla is going to be able to drop you off at work while you make money, and your Tesla is going to be going out in the world and self-driving and making money with Uber transactions. Conversation about humanoid robots, Optimus. If you don't think that's going to explode profit margins across the suite of companies within the S&P 500, from manufacturing, from marketing agencies. We had a brief conversation last night just about all the specific use cases and applications that humanoid robots and just robotics and automation in general are going to have on the market, right? Andy Jassy, CEO of Amazon, was at the Saudi investment conference today, right? And they're building fully autonomous warehouses for pick, pack, and ship, fully autonomous 3PL warehouses, right? What's that going to do for profit margins at Amazon? So that should be the focus. The focus should be on the innovation. How is the innovation going to impact earnings? How is the innovation going to impact quality of life for each and every one of us? Elon Musk mentioned the age of abundance. Age of abundance. He mentioned also the conversation about universal basic income, right? We've talked about this many times on the channel as we're looking at this beautiful view of 432 Park Avenue. There's many really smart people that think that we're going to need to roll out some sort of universal basic income, or UBI, because the change in technology is going to be like a waterfall where it's going to displace a lot of people and throw a lot of people out of their jobs. Elon Musk kind of was asked that question today, and he says, I don't think we're going to have a universal basic income. He thinks we're going to have a universal high income, is kind of what he used, right? He thinks that automation, humanoid robots, and fully autonomous driving is going to be so abundant and make your life so plentiful that the standard of living and the quality of living, not only in the United States, but globally, is going to explode. and you're going to be in an age of abundance, right? He coined the phrase universal high income. So go watch those things. It was pretty crazy. Hey, Patrice 2020, good to see you. Brian M, what's going on? Andrew O'Donovan says interesting times. AI, nuclear energy, catching traction, quantum computing. All the above, yeah, I agree. Pie in the sky is here, pineapple water. Hey, what's up, Matthew? Good to see you. Carl Roth says head to Grand Central Station. Maybe we'll just do a quick lap, and maybe we will head over to Grand Central. But if we do that, I think I want to bang a left here, my friends, and walk over to 7th Avenue a little bit.
Yeah, but they got rid of those with COVID, I think.
A topic that we need to cover today is CPI. So this morning we got the inflation out, or the inflation print. The consumer price index dropped, I think, at 8:30 in the morning. And the headline number came in at 2.3%, which is really, really good. Now, I was looking through the report, and it's pretty much just like the same thing every time, right? And every time the CPI comes around every month, we always kind of do a debrief and a deep dive into the main components of CPI. And it always kind of sings the same tune, doesn't it? In relation to what component of CPI accounted for the vast majority of the move. And it was shelter. And shelter costs are up 4%. And this goes back to our conversation about the bond market. You know, we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, why is shelter inflation so durable and long-lasting? Well, a few things, right? When inflation peaked in the United States at about 9.1% and started to collapse all the way down to about 2.3%, where it is right now, I always like to give the example, or I guess maybe the analogy, that asset prices generally tend to correct in order of liquidity. So the assets that are the most liquid, right? If you think about, you know, if you go back to your Finance 101 class in college or something like that, right? The balance sheet is always printed, your marketable securities, and then you have your property, plant, and equipment all the way near the bottom, because, you know, the top are things most easily converted into cash, and things all the way at the bottom are things that are of value, but it takes more time to convert them into cash, right? So what we've been having going on over the last really 2 to 3 years in the housing market is almost just like a gridlock. There's really no transactions going on. I mean, there's transactions that are getting done, but the transactions that are getting done are few and far between. And that's because the lion's share of people who are homeowners in America right now, well, they have either very, very high amounts of equity in their property, and the debt that they do have, well, it's very, very low in terms of the interest rate. You know, many people in America, if they have a mortgage, I think it's about 80% have an interest rate sub 5%. And if you think about where the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now, it's over 7%. And I think we'll probably get an update. I mean, you guys could probably just Google it right now. but we have like a 4.5 handle on the 10-year now, and that's probably consistently pushing up interest rates on that 30-year fixed. So a lot of people are reluctant to move. A lot of people are reluctant to sell their properties. Most people are staying put, and it's very, very difficult to buy one because prices haven't come down all that much. So if you need financing, if you put 20% down and you leverage out the rest at 7.5%, well, your monthly payment's going to be huge. So perhaps, as interest rates start to come down, now nobody can really predict when interest rates are going to come down, but assuming that they do, you may be in like a deflationary scenario, right? Because a 2.3% print at headline CPI, when shelter was up 4%, energy overall was down 3.7%, that's really the last piece of the puzzle, is shelter costs. So we'll see what happens. If we at any point, and I'm not, a psychic or a genie, I'm not a fortune teller, so I don't know when interest rates are going to come down meaningfully to start to lubricate the housing market. But I think if you get, 30-year fixed at 5%, 4.5 to 5%, which is a big jump, you were just going to see an explosion of transaction activity in the housing market. What do you guys think? I thought the CPI report was very good. Matthew says you agree. Check out the Sheraton Hotel across the street. $999 says it appears the tariffs are somehow reducing inflation and making things more affordable, at least in the short term, which is the opposite of what the news said would happen. Oh, I think it's starting to pour rain now. Let's try to get under this awning here at the Sheraton. But yeah, that's another good point about crude oil. Where did crude oil close at today? I actually completely forgot. But I think last week we closed sub $60. Man, the weather has really been so crummy in New York. Hey, what's up, Peter? Good to see you. Hey, Mike, New York, what's going on? Hang with Mark Mom says I have one mortgage at 2.1% interest rate. Oh my God. That's crazy. Now, for those homeowners in the chat, if you're comfortable sharing, what is your fixed rate interest rate on your mortgage? And is interest rates, maybe if for anybody in the audience who's thinking about buying or even thinking about selling their home, has that been a major deciding factor for you? For a lot of people I talk to throughout the day, it is. 128 says I have 3.1, WePrice is 3.2, Angelus is 3.6. Wow, a lot of people are in the threes. 456 says I have a 3.8, Funface is 3. Derek says 2%. Holy crap, that's just like free money at that point, 2%. Delia's Lifestyle says 6. Paulie says 3.6. Andy says my interest rate's 2 3/4. Holy crap. Dave's is in 1981. I was lucky enough to assume a mortgage at 8.5%. Yeah. Bart's is 2.75 in 2021. Florida boy in Atlanta. Yeah, so this is kind of like proving the point, right? Anybody who is a homeowner right now, your monthly payment for a home that is comparable, like let's say if you were to sell, in theory, right? Maybe you make a few $100,000. But if you're gonna rotate or maybe even upgrade into a little bit larger house, your monthly payment, assuming you can't pay for the house in cash, is probably literally gonna double, right? If you're used to paying 3% money, and now you're paying 7% money, that's more than 100% increase. So if you're looking and you're thinking about, all right, maybe, I'm planning on having a kid, I wanna sell my house and upgrade, or I think someone's getting out of here. Oh, I think maybe that's George Clooney. Good night and good luck. Very cool. So it's pretty much a guarantee that you're not gonna sell anytime soon. Let's see, let's take a quick detour over here, my friends. Matthews says, I think that's why the market is slow. Yeah, I agree with you. Hang with Mark Mom is saying, as long as interest rates remain high, it is likely people refrain from buying, hence they remain renters, and they pay my mortgage for me. I know, jeez. I mean, it's true, and a lot of times when you run the numbers, it's cheaper to be a renter right now. I wonder how much a ticket is to see Good Night and Good Luck with George Clooney. I would like to go. I'd like to see that. Hey, NBA Elias is here. Long time no see. Trust you're well. We're just having a casual walk down 7th Avenue here on this rainy Tuesday night in Manhattan. Carl Roth says, Tom, in Canada, the real estate market is in a holding pattern as well, but the housing prices have come down the last year by 6%. Well, that's a positive. Hey, Manny says, bonjour. Bonjour to you. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, chances are if you're a home buyer in this market, and I work with a lot of home buyers, when they do the cost-benefit analysis, okay, of buying something comparable to what they're renting right now, like I was working with this couple that was in a 3-bedroom apartment in Tribeca. Really nice, really nice unit, right? 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms in Tribeca. They were paying $15,000 a month in rent, which actually isn't bad. 3 beds, 3.5 bathrooms in Tribeca, 15 grand a month. That's not bad. I mean, you actually probably could have pushed rental prices on that. I sold that apartment that they were renting for I think $3.2 million. If they were to have put a down payment of 20%, the renters that were currently in that unit, and then take on a mortgage at 7%, their monthly payment would have probably been over $20,000 a month to buy that, right? So when you're doing the cost-benefit analysis, of a 3-bedroom apartment, of that caliber, if you're not a cash buyer, it's probably better to rent. Probably better to rent. And this was at 5 Franklin Place. Hey, Mark Robinson, good to see you. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. Today we started talking about the Saudi U.S. Investment Summit. Some of the key themes that came out of that summit, obviously, some of the key leaders and business leaders that were there include Larry Fink, Andy Jassy, Sam Altman, Jensen, Alex Karp, and Elon Musk. We talked about the big follow-through day here in the market, Uber hitting new all-time record highs as well. Robinhood, I think about 8% on the day, following through 2 points off of a new all-time record. And then we had new all-time record highs today for Palantir. And we did discuss briefly the concern of the bond market right now. The bond market continues to sell off a bit. If you go to cnbc.com/bonds, you can take a look at the yield curve for yourself. 10-year Treasury is about 4.5%, 30 years for almost 5%, 4.96, and the 2 is at 4%. So. NBA Elias says, Tom, in 1981, my parents bought their home with an 18.3% interest rate. Absolutely. It's insane, but back then, homes were significantly cheaper, right? But that's crazy to think about. Insane. Hey, Storm Rider said United Healthcare short took a hit today. Storm Rider, you are the best in the chat of the night because I really wanted to talk about United Healthcare tonight, but I wanted to do it in a way that doesn't get me in trouble and that doesn't spur like a lot of trolls in the chat. I will say this. Well, hold on. Let me think about what I'm going to say first. Okay, I'll put it like this. I was talking to an analyst, a healthcare analyst that works at one of the big banks, and I was, because I'm a big price action trend trader. And this stock is going no bid for the past week. This is very, very unusual activity to see that. I think this thing is down over 50% in 2 weeks, United Healthcare. Now, for me, when I see price action like that in the stock, and in full transparency and disclosure, I don't own the stock, I don't cover the stock, I don't really know anything about it. I'm not a healthcare guy. But let me get out of the rain here, or I'm gonna probably have to be a healthcare guy in the doctor's office. What I'm getting at is you never see selling like that with a stock going literally it goes no bid. Like there was no buying. It was just like sheer panic selling for days. I saw similar, it reminds me of Luckin Coffee. I'm not sure if any of you remember that stock. It's still publicly traded, but when it was listed in the United States, it was delisted due to fraud. And it had similar price action, just like falling off a cliff every day. You're like, oh my God, this stock's down 20% again? What I'm getting at is you don't see price action like that unless there's some sort of fraud. Now, I'm not alleging anything, because I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some major breaking news or headline over the next few weeks that something happened. Now, again, I'm making no allegations. I'm basing this statement off of past price action of companies that turned out to be frauds or they were cooking their books. It's so reminiscent of Luckin Coffee, which is a stock I used to own, by the way. Hold on one second. Which is a stock I used to own, by the way. It used to trade under the ticker symbol LK. Now, for some context, it's not a fraudulent company, okay? Luckin Coffee is a real company, but what they were doing is they were cooking their books. So I was covering the stock a few years back, and I was buying this stock, and the only red flag that it showed is there was really none of the big institutional names in it. Like Barron Funds wasn't in it. You know, there was no Fidelity mutual funds that were buying this thing, which is very unusual for a stock that meets that criteria. I mean, 6 to 8 beat and raise quarters, 25% plus earnings growth, 25% plus revenue growth. I mean, this thing was like, you're like, this is a model book stock. But when you would look at the institutional sponsorship, there was like no big firms that were buying this thing, which was like a big tell, right? There's always somebody that knows something. And it was trading at all-time record highs, and then boom, this thing was just like peeling off a cliff and essentially went to zero, right? And then got delisted. United Healthcare is trading like that. So I would say, like, if I had to guess, and I know nothing, okay, but it's trading like there's something wrong. And it's trading like there's some fraud going on. And I just want to make abundantly clear, just because I don't want to get sued, I'm not alleging that there's fraud, but I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out, because this thing is going no bid for like 2 weeks. Like not even a bounce. Like this thing is just like peeling off. So that's what I have to say about that. Safety box, Berkshire Hathaway buying United Healthcare now? Really? There's no way. Oh, probably buying United Healthcare now. I think that was a troll comment. But yeah, I don't know. Douglas, is Tarrytown comparable with Manhattan in terms of renting or owning? I'm not too sure, but Tarrytown's quite nice. I would say it's definitely a more relaxed way of life. I've been spending a lot more time in upstate New York recently, and it's really growing on me. I really do like it a lot. Now, I don't think I could ever live there like in a single family home long term, especially in the winter, but towns like Larchmont, New York, New Rochelle, Rybrook, they're really, really nice. I Love Your Shorts is the CEO of United Healthcare is stepping down. Yeah, so I know all that news. I know was some issues with the CEO and all that, but I guess what I'm getting at is that's not it. You don't have movements like that. There must be something, some analyst somewhere, some smart money knows something, that maybe there was some issues, maybe there was some financial accounting issues there that's going to come out. You never know. Man, the scaffolding tonight is really coming in clutch, keeping us out of the rain as we walk down Restaurant Row. Here we have Nomura. This is the Japanese bank. We're now on the corner of West 49th Street and 8th Avenue. MBA Elias is Tom. I recommended an article in Investors Business Daily about robotics. Awesome information. Recommend to all in the chat. Please put the link in the chat. I'd love to read it. Now, MBA Elias, by chance, was it the IBD article that came out over the weekend about humanoid robots? If so, we talked about that article in depth last night, but I agree. It is an amazing article, and I think they said that there's going to be like a $5 trillion opportunity in humanoid robots. MBA Elias says, yes, the humanoid robots and IBD. Yeah, we discussed that, and I pulled the article up during the stream yesterday, and I posted about it also today on my X account, but you are 100% right. If you read that article and you're not like overly optimistic for the future, like extremely bullish, I mean, you may have like a vitamin D deficiency and you're all depressed all the time, because I'm convinced that is the future. Like I'm bought in with all of that, hook, line, and sinker. Now, for some further context on that, NBA Elias, I'm sure you probably watched Elon Musk's spiel today at the US-Saudi investing conference. And he was talking about humanoid robots and AI, particularly his Optimus, the Tesla bot Optimus. And he was talking about like universal basic income. And he said, I don't think we're gonna need universal basic income, because I think we're all gonna have universal high income. That, like your Tesla you'll drive to work in your Tesla, right? And then your Tesla will be driving other people around, making money while you're making money at work. So life will become so abundant because we'll have all of these things like catering to us, hand and foot, which is a crazy idea to wrap your head around. But I ask myself, I'm like, all right, I'm not a sharp guy. I'm not a smart guy. I'm not one of these computer whizzes. I'm not one of these engineers. But all of the smartest people, like an Elon Musk, like a Jensen, like an Andy Jassy, like a Jeff Bezos, even Bill Gates, they're all aligning their investments, they're all aligning their hiring processes based on that outcome, which is pretty crazy. I mean, Amazon has never spent more money in the history of their company than they are right now on fully automating their warehouses. So right now you have, a traditional Amazon warehouse with people, pick, packing, and shipping products. There's going to be ghost warehouses. The lights aren't even going to be on. There's going to be no lights on. And these robots are going to be working 24/7, 365, pick, packing, and shipping products, full 3PL logistics of everything, and there won't even be a human involved, right? So all of these laborious, back-breaking jobs are going to be obsolete, and robots are going to be taking over. Ritter Engine 128 says, do you think we're headed into a recession? Well, I'll answer your question with a question. If you've been watching the stream, let's say over the last month or so, specifically over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, based upon the conversations we've been having, based upon what I've been posting on X, based upon my overall equity exposure, what would you say my answer would be? And I'm not trying to say that in a sarcastic or a nasty way. I'm just trying to have us have a broader conversation of putting the pieces together, right? So if I've been legging into a lot of these TMLs, getting really, really high equity exposure right at the lows, would my overall worldview be that we're going to go into recession? Probably not. Man, there's a lot of people out tonight. I mean, this is a Tuesday night in New York City, and it's raining and kind of nasty out, and it's packed. I mean, people are out seeing shows, people are out, getting dinner. There doesn't seem to be any slowdown here, anecdotally, I guess. Wow, look at this. I wonder there must be some type of Broadway show getting out, because there's like a wave of people coming up from the Port Authority bus terminal. Let me see if I could zoom in for you all. All right, let's continue on down. Let me see if I can zoom out just a tad more. So speaking of anecdotes, hey, Amy T, what's going on? We have people, in the chat from all over the United States. Maybe you live in Los Angeles. Maybe you live in Philly. Maybe you live in Miami. What is the overall environment in terms of nightlife, restaurants, consumer spending? Like, is a Tuesday night in your local town or your city where you're from, does it look like this? I mean, are people out spending money at the restaurants, at the bars, traveling? Like, anecdotally, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Hi. Hey. Ted says from Florida. James says hello from the Jersey Shore. Miami says I'm in Miami. Well, I'll be in Miami next week. Alan says weekdays not so much, but the weekends, Kansas City seems alive. Miami says the Miami World Center, the grand opening is next week. Is it really? I thought it was already open. The last time I was down there, I was checking out the flow at Miami World Center, which is Adam Newman's project. Philly West says Philly is empty on the weekdays, it's alive on the weekends. Vincent says Philly on the weekends, a little slow. Hood Patriots is here in San Francisco. The Marina District is busy. Most other parts of San Francisco are not. So it appears New York has extreme strength here. Donna says there's a grand opening party next week with Flo. Interesting. Michelle Henry, thanks for joining us. Man, what a loud night. This is looking northbound on 8th Avenue. This poor couple's trying to get a cab. It's going to be impossible. Just as a quick tip, if it's raining in Manhattan, you're never going to get a cab in between 8th and 5th Avenue. It's not going to happen. You're better off walking over to 9th, or if you're closer to 5th, going over to Lexington or Madison, because there's no way you're ever going to get a cab here. It's so difficult. And they should probably get out of the parking space there too. Yeah, NBA Live says it looks like a Saturday. It kind of feels like a Friday night, Saturday night. Now let's start to head down because I gotta go. Man, look at this Shake Shack. Shake Shack is packed. James Davidson says with the weather being a lot warmer, which brings so many more people out. Well, according to the weather app that I have on my iPhone, it's supposed to be raining all week, which kind of sucks. And Manos says Charlotte, North Carolina is more calm, less people out. Maybe it has to do with there's been a lot of people moving back to New York City. But whenever I'm in Miami, I mean, we'll do the streams in Miami next week, and we'll kind of gauge how it is in Brickell. Hey, amazing day. Says, hey Tom, you should visit Connecticut. I was in Connecticut yesterday, and 2 days ago. I was in Greenwich. And I really like it. I really, really enjoyed my time there. Now, did anybody see Mayor Eric Adams? I believe this was yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago. Eric Adams came out in a press conference and said he wants to really make sure that New York City is the cryptocurrency and digital asset, the capital of the world. DJ says, hey Tom, my girlfriend just got her new job and we're headed back to Chicago from Tampa. Can't wait, this place is miserable. Well, congrats on the new job, that's awesome. Haven't been to Chicago. Maybe this summer I'll get over to Chicago, but I've just never had the opportunity to. But enjoy it. Let us know how you like it, and best wishes on the new job. That's amazing. This is the atrocious, horrible Port Authority bus terminal. Let's go inside. Nelsie says, I'm from Norwalk, Connecticut. I'm not too sure where that is. Are you able to take the Metro North there? You know what I want to do one day, and I'll probably film a video around it. I want to film a walking tour around Yale University. And apparently it's very easy to get there because you can take the Metro North right to New Haven. All right, here we are at the inside of the Port Authority bus terminal. Manuel says, Tom, what happened to Behind the Street? We're going to be starting that back up probably next week. I took about a month hiatus from the stream. I had some issues that I had to deal with. NBA Live says, Tom, sorry if you haven't covered it already. Any observations from the CPI report? Should the Fed should it make the Fed's decision easier? Yeah, I mean, I would say, CPI, we did cover it briefly, but it's, always important to, go over it again. Headline was what, 2.3? Headline number CPI, it's more of the same, right? And this kind of goes into our housing conversation because pretty much every other category, if you go down the list, was lower. I mean, energy down 3.7%. The only category that was up materially was shelter costs. And that's really because of the interest rate environment. And I think you're going to have these very, very sticky and elevated housing prices so long as interest rates remain elevated, right? And that's kind of, ties back into our main conversation at the very, very beginning of the stream, as we were talking about, yes, this equity rally has been amazing. We've pretty much all participated in it. But you got to look at the yield curve because the bond market's, it's still selling off quite a bit. As of recording this video, the 10 years at 4.473, the 30 years almost 5%, and the 2 years at 4%. So it's just it's very interesting action we're seeing in the bond market. Interest rates are going higher, and I think the final piece of the inflation puzzle is shelter. That's the final piece of the inflation puzzle. But to be fair, if you type !CPI in the chat, right? !CPI. It's going to take you to the Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI infographic. And as discussed, inflation hasn't been a problem in the United States for months. I would probably say for over a year, right? It's only been politicized on both parties, by the way, right? By both the Republicans and the Democrats. But anybody who's looking at this data objectively, and again, this is why it's important to follow along. If you just type !CPI, we've been in total inflation collapse since the peak of 9.1%. It's literally been a bell curve, hammer blast from the top left-hand corner of the screen to the bottom right. So it's been a non-issue. I mean, it has. The only category that's really been an issue is inflation, but that's the conversation that we already had. Shelter costs are going to remain elevated, mainly because of what has happened over the last decade, which is we've been living in an environment of ZIRP, ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. And to unwind all of that is going to take a lot of time because there's so much debt outstanding that we kind of, went over probably about 30 minutes ago in the broadcast. We had everybody who owns a home and who has debt outstanding put their interest rate in the chat. There was only like one person who had an interest rate above 4%. I think there was like one person, right? So think about that times, every homeowner in America. That is a lot of cheap debt out there. And that's going to anchor a lot of people to stay put. So what that does is it actually puts upward pressure on rents, believe it or not, because there's more demand for rent than there is demand for people buying a house, because it just doesn't pencil. A lot of the deals just don't pencil if you don't have the cash. If you can't stroke a check, let's say, your budget's $1 million, for a house or wherever you live, and you can't pay for that cash, chances are, not in all circumstances, but chances are you could probably get something comparable for less in terms of the payment by renting it. I mean, what is your opinion on all that? DJ says I have a 2% interest rate on my house currently in Raleigh and renting it out currently. Well, see, there's another example. I mean, 2%, that's significant. DJ says, Tom, the rental market in Chicago is absolutely nuts, and we're in the $5,500 a month range. So what does $5,500 a month get you in Chicago? Like 3 beds? I guess it really depends on where you are, but I'm just not too familiar with the Chicago market. Can we just do a quick time check in the chat? If anybody just wants to put the time, I would really appreciate it. DJ says that it's a super nice 2-bed. Oh, I could imagine. You probably have great views overlooking the lake. Man, that must be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, 10:05. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate that. We still got about 30 minutes left. And then I got to boogie on out of here. Now, we'll just quickly re-go over a lot of the actionable stocks, you know, kind of taking it from the top. The main thing we were looking for this week is participation from the semiconductors. So if you look at the SOX, ticker symbol SOXX, we finally closed above the 200-day for the first time in God knows how long. And Jensen's conversation at the Saudi U.S. investing conference really put a nice bid under that stock. So you now have NVIDIA participating in the semiconductor space, and that is the liquid leader, right? Or it was the liquid leader in the semiconductor sector. The number one liquid leader in that sector now, without a doubt, is Broadcom, right? Or as I like to call it, Avago, AVGO. So these are starting to be actionable now. So you're starting to see this market really broaden out. And this is very, very promising and good news. Also another stock we've been watching that yesterday broke out from a beautiful cup with handle base off of a really good earnings report is Uber. And I think with Uber, you'll hit that Jesse Livermore round number of $100 will be your first target. The only thing is, you know, as we reviewed, you now have a lot of these leaders that are extended. So if you missed, you know, buying these leaders, don't buy extended here, because, you know, these leaders are up and out. Wait for the first, and this is just a conversation. I'm not telling anybody what to do. This is just kind of, you know, how I manage the portfolio. If you miss a leader, it's okay. Now that all the major equity indices are above the 200, usually corrections to the 50 or even the 21-day, because I don't even think we'll get corrections to the 50 in a lot of these leaders. You could use that as entry points or early entry points. But if you're already in these leaders, you can use those pullbacks to the 21-day to ladder in and leverage in more stock. Let's cross the street and go by the New Yorker Hotel. Mainly because it has scaffolding. And we'll try to get out of the rain. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. And click the subscribe button if you're new. Noodle says Coinbase did well today. That's also true. Coinbase was included into the S&P 500 yesterday. It's going to replace Discover Financial. It is the first pure play crypto company to be included in the S&P 500. It's amazing, amazing news. You know, they converted some of the New Yorker hotel into dormitories for students. Wow, look at the Empire State Building. It's like a crazy electric blue color. Let me see if I can wipe the camera lens. Very cool view here. Do. This is the AC&E train. G. Raymond's is any commentary about the drop in tourism. I mean, my commentary is I don't really see a drop in tourism. I mean, I know that's an anecdote, but I mean, I just walked through a mob of people on a Tuesday night in the pouring rain. And the city seems packed. I mean, I'm in the office every day. You know, from morning until midnight, pretty much, when I finish the stream. And the city's rocking. So I could speak for New York City and Miami. Midtown Manhattan is rocking. People are in the office.
That at all.
People are out seeing Broadway shows. So I don't know. I really don't see it in my world, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Wow, look at that. It's an amazing shot. Christopher says you're getting much needed rain. I don't think we need it. I'd rather not have it. It seems like it's been abnormally rainy in New York and cloudy. It's like we have one nice day of, you know, sun, and then we get lambasted with rain and wind and cloudy, gray. G. Raymond says maybe New York City isn't being impacted, but clearly some states are trying to encourage tourism. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really see it here. And again, I'm not saying it's not happening. Maybe it is, but in New York City, I mean, I would probably say tourism is up from last year, just from me walking around doing these streams and being in the city. Hopefully next week when I'm in Miami, it'll be like 90 degrees and sunny every day. This is the old entrance to the LIRR. 123 AC&E trains too. This is one of my favorite intersections in the whole city, though. Beautiful shot of the Empire State Building. I'll have to wipe the camera lens again.
We live pretty close to each other, so. The better tight ends don't fumble.
This kind of looks like a Batman movie, like Gotham. Maybe we'll cross here so we can walk under the awning at Madison Square Garden. Yesterday, this place was crazy after the Knicks game. Knicks fans pretty much shut down 7th Avenue, 34th Street to 38th Street. It was just mobs of people. I see Brad's brain is here. What's going on? Had another really good follow-through day in Uber, closing up about 4%. Also really good follow-through on Robinhood, Palantir. Big catalyst today with the Saudi US investing conference. And further participation from semis. This is the new Pen 2 project by Vornado.
Yeah, he had very good like. Yeah, I forgot how.
Oh, the Frick collection is now open again. That's my favorite museum in all New York City. Henry Clay Frick, one of the biggest names during the Industrial Revolution. Look at the Empire State Building there, incredible. Safety boxes. This is so you not buy United Healthcare at any price. I don't really own any healthcare stocks, and we spent about like a half hour talking about it already tonight. That I think there's a bigger issue because the stock is going no bid and it's down like 50% in 2 weeks. Stocks just don't move like that on that heavy volume going no bid unless there's something else going on. And I'm not alleging anything, but maybe there's some fraud. Maybe, who knows? But you don't have a move like that with no buying. Like that's people just dumping. That's just like, you know, somebody knows something. Perhaps we'll have a headline over the weekend about something, who knows? But the opportunity is in the stocks that are already making new highs. I'm not going to waste my time with a stock that has declining earnings when you have stocks that are beating earnings, raising guidance for the next year, ripping into new highs. Yeah, Brad's brain says pretty much everything was up today. Yeah, so the whole entire market was catching a bid today, except United Healthcare. Like that is a big tell that something is wrong. Something is really, really wrong there. I wonder what they're gonna do for 11 Penn. Because they already took down the old Hotel Pennsylvania. Let's see if I could take you in the New Jersey Transit section, and then we'll head out. Which I'm surprised they didn't redo this. This is still the original New Jersey Transit entrance. Kathleen disagrees, something not right with United Healthcare. Yeah, there has to be somebody has to know something. It's more so a catalyst from just, you know, change in management, new CEO. Movements like that is there's a black swan. Something is, you know, maybe there's some accounting issues, you know, maybe there has to be restructuring, something. I don't know what it is. I don't follow the healthcare sector that much, but. So this is where you buy your tickets to the NJ Transit. So I only take the New Jersey Transit when I go to Newark. And you take it right here. So I usually get, actually I don't know, I think I get the Trenton or the Long Branch line, and I change for Newark International Airport. But I don't know if I'm going to be flying out of Newark Airport anymore with everything that's going on. Safety boxes, they have tens of billions of cash. Look, all I'm saying, I'm not an expert on the United Healthcare. I don't cover the stock. I don't even cover the sector. But I mean, if I'm not trying to convince you one way or another, but I don't know what's going on, but we'll see. Maybe over the weekend, you know, Friday at the close, they'll float something out, and then there'll be some issues. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's another thing that's concerning. Speaking about concerns, the stuff that's been going on at Newark Airport is not only concerning, but really unacceptable. Like, it seems like every morning there's a new outage or something going on, which is unfortunate. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal the other day talking about the airports with the most delays, and JFK was very, very high on that list, which I'm surprised because, I mean, I'm not usually delayed that often, but maybe I've just become so used to a lot of the unacceptable behavior. It's like in the United States, we can't even get a plane off the ground now. It's crazy. But usually out of Newark, you can get some pretty affordable international flights. So that's kind of why I fly out of Newark Airport sometimes. But I don't know, I may spend a few extra dollars to fly out of somewhere else just because there's so many problems in Newark. This is now the Amtrak terminal. AB Shields. I got delayed the last time I flew out of Newark Airport. I would not recommend that airport. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Ooh, it's 10:25 p.m., my friends. That means, unfortunately, I got to cut the stream short tonight. But I think we had a lot of good conversations, particularly in the first hour. We covered a lot of major movers, but just as a quick recap, I wanted to have everybody pay close attention to the main guests that accompanied President Trump at the Saudi investing conference. You had Larry Fink, you had Steve Schwartzman, my good buddy, Andy Jassy, Sam Altman, Jensen, and Alex Karp. CPI came in at 2.3%, shelter costs up 4%, energy down 3.7%, NVIDIA back over the 200-day, semiconductor index back over the 200-day, and the XLF, which is the financial sector ETF, is only 2 points away from a new all-time record high. New all-time highs for Uber today, Robinhood up 9%, 4 points from an all-time high, and then Palantir up 8% on the day for a new all-time high. So if you enjoyed it, leave a like on the video, subscribe. We do these streams every day, starting at 8:45. And we'll see you tomorrow. Paulie, Professor Dario, Hang with Mark Mom, Brad's Brain, AB Shield, Safety Box, thank you so much, NBA Elias, Melissa 2087, Vincent, Peter, Professor Dario, Joseph Hardaway, all of our friends and moderators, NBA Elias, Hang with Mark Mom, Ibrahim Azam, God bless, be safe, good luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.